Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. It's hard to follow such an incredible panel, but I will try. Thank you to the Yolo Food Bank for inviting me to share a high-level overview of the priorities identified in the Sacramento Region Food System Action Plan. The 2021 Sacramento Region Food System Action Plan, also known as the Regional Action Plan, was made possible by the generous support and leadership of the Sacramento Region Community Foundation. All right, you got a preview of Valley Vision with Evan's presentation earlier, but if you haven't heard of us or if you haven't worked with us before, I'd like to share a brief overview. Valley Vision brings communities together to tackle our region's biggest challenges and ensure a more livable future. Sorry about that. Sorry about that all. It's always funny when talking about Valley Vision's impact areas and broadband comes up and then the internet just dies. So thank you for your patience as I came back online there. As I said, the Regional Action Plan identifies prevailing challenges, opportunities, best practices, priorities, and recommendation to advance the region's food system. And for the purposes of this plan, it covers the community of El Dorado, Placer, Sacramento, and Yolo counties. It is an update to the 2015 Food System Action Plan, which led to investments in expanding the efficiency and capacity of the emergency food system, which serves hundreds of thousands of our community members facing hunger, food, and nutrition insecurity. Many other accomplishments and positive outcomes have occurred since that time as well, especially as several nonprofits deepened their capacity and the region's food and agricultural economy grew. The foundation was poised to update the 2015 Food System Action Plan when the COVID-19 pandemic hit in March 2020. As we all know, the pandemic caused immediate and massive disruptions to this process, the regional economy, and the entire food system. In developing the Regional Action Plan, Valley Vision engaged more than 200 stakeholders through individual and group interviews and in 6 listening sessions that took place over the summer related to strategic focus areas, which I'll cover in the next slide. Additionally, Valley Vision conducted research and analysis, consulted with subject area experts, and engaged federal and state funders, and partnered with Professor Catherine Brinkley at the University of California Davis Environmental Land and Food Systems Lab on county-level community food guides. This work was produced in collaboration and alignment with many other entities across the region who are conducting planning and other food system initiatives to ensure alignment and synergy with the Regional Action Plan, including Healthy Food for All Collaborative, initiatives of the Sacramento Food Policy Council, the Placer Food Insecurity Task Force, and the Roseville Food Security Stakeholder Group, just to name a few. The full methodology and research and list of partners will be included in the final report. In addition to the Regional Action Plan engagement, as you heard from Evan earlier, Valley Vision conducted a public opinion poll, the Food System Resilience Poll, in partnership with the Institute of Social Research at the California State University, Sacramento, and Capital Public Radio. And all of these efforts and activities have contributed greatly to the development of this plan, and we are very grateful. And this plan is intended to serve as a living document. So the Regional Action Plan includes recommendations and a synthesis of information and research on assets, challenges, emerging opportunities for 6 strategic focus areas: viability of agriculture, environmental sustainability, food economy, careers in food and agriculture, food security and healthy food access, and health and nutrition. Examples of best practices and innovative models are showcased throughout the report that can be further implemented or brought to scale through increased investment in the food system. So this is an example of the kind of feedback that we received from the 6 listening sessions. This graph shows an overall perspective on, 1, the degree to which participants believe the region is effectively planning for each focus area, and number 2, the degree to which the region effectively supports policies, programs, and initiatives in each focus area. Participants were asked to rate from 1 to 5, 1 being strongly disagree, and 5 equaling strongly agree. So you can see that most categories received less than a rating of 3, with the exception of the viability of agriculture, which is pretty concerning. And in almost all the cases, planning was considered to be better than the actual support for policies, programs, and initiatives, which may suggest a lag in implementation or in funding. You'll also note the focus area that ranked the lowest was food security and healthy food access, which may also reflect the magnitude of the impact of the pandemic. The biggest gap between planning and policies, programs, and initiatives was related to the viability of ag focus area. The ranking suggests improvement is needed across all areas of the food system, as you can see, and the regional action plan process and the input from these listening sessions helped us identify key assets, challenges, and opportunities for action to strengthen the resilience, sustainability, and inclusiveness of the regional food system. So the first focus area that we went to was the viability of agriculture. There are many issues that affect the viability of agriculture in the region, although there are differences across the counties. Ongoing challenges include the cost of farming, land conversion pressure, environmental challenges, and access to land, capital, and technical assistance. There are many assets the region has to address these challenges, including farmer programs and technical assistance programs, agricultural innovation, including from UC Davis that we heard from earlier, and other clusters of nearby colleges and ag tech entrepreneurs, labs, and incubators. And as you heard from Evan's presentation on the poll earlier, poll respondents from the Food System Resilience poll highly value wild open lands and farmland and enjoy living in an area with farms and agriculture. And as you can see here, up to 17% of farms have no broadband access, which limits their ability to implement ag tech. And so one of the recommended actions in the Regional Action Plan for Viability of Agriculture is to increase funding mechanisms and investments for access to capital, land, and equipment, and broadband, especially for BIPOC and smaller enterprise farmers and food entrepreneurs. There are several best practices and opportunities for action identified in the Regional Action Plan that support this recommendation, including new state and federal resources and supportive policies. The second strategic focus area is environmental sustainability. This area cuts across the entire food system. 83% of our poll respondents are concerned or very concerned about climate threats to the food system. And when asked about the impact of climate change on growing food in our region, more than half said that they were very concerned. The drought has been especially challenging for farmers who do not have access to lower levels in the groundwater basin, which that they have reached now that we're at this point in the drought. The poll found about moving on to food recovery, the poll found about half respondents admit to regularly throwing out food, and we can see that 30 to 40% of food is wasted somewhere along the supply chain. However, as Evan mentioned, the same amount of folks support paying a fee of at least $5 on their monthly utility bill to support food recovery programs that could reduce food waste and hunger. And such a charge could be an opportunity for county governments to help implement SB 1383 expenses. One concerning trend for the environment is that there are limited composting facilities in the region, and most jurisdictions are not mandated for the food recovery and waste requirements that are coming into effect, like SB 1383, as I mentioned before. So a sustainable funding stream is needed to cover operating costs and for capital expenditures. So one of our recommended actions for environmental sustainability is to identify a sustainable funding stream for edible food recovery and waste reduction programs that could help address the operating costs and capital expenditures like refrigerated trucks, warehouses, and refrigeration, storage in general, needed for increased food recovery and waste reduction. The third strategic focus area is food economy, which focuses on local purchasing, such as sales from farmers markets, farm stands, mobile food trucks, and grocery stores, and then institutional purchasing, such as farm to school, farm to hospital. One way to increase local purchasing and importantly reduce food insecurity is increase CalFresh enrollment. This was discussed in the last panel as well. There are several sections in the Regional Action Plan that discuss the opportunities presented by CalFresh enrollment. Again, CalFresh is the federal SNAP program in California. It was also previously called food stamps. It is the nation's most important anti-hunger program, but analysis shows that a large number of eligible Californians are not receiving benefits. The 146 million that's left on the table would be a huge economic driver for our region and opportunities for workforce. CalFresh also increases demand for local food and products. Currently, a network of jurisdictions and nonprofit partners are working to expand CalFresh enrollment and increase the purchasing power, including at farmers markets and retail establishments. Alchemist CDC is very involved in this space in Sacramento County. And for Yolo County, a large portion of the unenrolled peoples are challenges in enrolling UC Davis students. But the county is very active in this space and actually is the only UC campus that has a CalFresh coordinator on the campus. As Evan mentioned with the food system resilience poll, about half of respondents knowingly purchase food grown within 100 miles of their home. However, this practice is more common among white, older, and higher income residents. Institutional procurement, such as farm to school, is growing in our region, including in Winters here in Yolo County and in the Sacramento City Unified Central Kitchen in Sacramento. There's also an emerging network of food hubs that can support local purchasing and processing that serve local growers and food producers and support farm to fork efforts. And so investment in food hubs are one of the recommendations related to the food economy strategic focus area in the regional action plan. Several food hubs are emerging out of urban agricultural programs and farm to school partnerships in Yolo County, such as Fairy Ginger Farms and the Center for Land-Based Learning's Mobile Farmers Market in West Sacramento. There are also a nonprofit hub partnership moving forward in Yolo County with support from the county. And these food hubs provide critical market access and capacity building for smaller farms and entrepreneurs. The fourth strategic focus area is careers in food and agriculture. Some of the challenges here are an aging workforce and changing technologies, and the ability to sustain the region challenges the ability to sustain the region's thriving food economy. But new technologies are actually paving the way for additional career opportunities. One example is precision farming, which enables farmers to increase profitability, safety, and sustainability through lower use of inputs such as water, energy, and pesticides, while also using technology to improve soil and crop health. New technologies and growing opportunities in agri-food tech innovation can invite new farmers and entrepreneurs into the food system and provide a pathway for upward mobility. Career awareness also remains a challenge. Especially, we recommend increasing career awareness and workforce development for those who are experiencing barriers in the workforce, such as refugees and immigrants. Supporting apprenticeships, youth programs, and programs for higher barrier adults, veterans, refugees, and immigrants provide a career pathway that will help the region meet the skills gaps. The fifth strategic focus area is on food security and healthy food access. In this space, food banks are especially important pieces of infrastructure in the food system. Food banks were once viewed as emergency or temporary services, but now many food banks are seen as continued lifelines for residents across the region. Valley Vision's food system resilience poll showed the self-reported insecurity was higher than the US average overall, and disparities exist across racial and economic lines and among age groups. In a couple of slides, I will show you the breakdown of food insecurity for Yolo County by census tract. Food insecurity, as we all know, has been a persistent and pervasive challenge to the region's social, moral, and economic fabric. The levels of food insecurity saw consistent improvement from 2015 up until the pandemic hit, and that improvement resulted from an improving economy as well as the efforts among the food banks and other nonprofits to strengthen the emergency food system. But the pandemic led to skyrocketing levels of food insecurity, and reaching those in need was further complicated by disruptions in supply chains that we heard of earlier, too. The loss of food distribution sites, partners, staff, and volunteers was pretty critical for the food banks, and also the increasing cost to obtain food. The primary food and funding sources for food banks include donations from Feeding America, food retailers like Federal Commodities, philanthropy, and individual and corporate donations. Historically, there has been little local and state investment in the emergency food system compared to what is needed to sustain these food insecurity services. In order to support food insecurity and healthy food access, one of the recommendations in the Regional Action Plan is to support the emergency food system with sustainable multi-year operations and expanded infrastructures and facility and staffing. This investment will also help develop infrastructure capacity and sustainable funding streams to support the food recovery strategies. A lot of these recommendations are interconnected, just as the food system is. So this slide is the levels of food insecurity for 2019 and for 2021. This data comes from Feeding America. On the left, you will see the food insecurity rates from 2019, and on the right, you will see the food insecurity rates for 2021. So you can see the rates went up in several of the census tracts in Yolo County. Um, and we saw this throughout the region in all of the counties that we examined for the regional action plan. So these maps for every county and also the percent change from 19 to 21 will be included in the appendix of the regional action plan. The last strategic focus area in the regional action plan is health and nutrition. Food and nutrition literacy focuses on linking food related knowledge and skills with a healthy diet, healthy lifestyle, and positive health outcomes. We heard in the earlier panel, Michael referenced food prescriptions. That concept came up in our research as well as an emerging opportunity for the region. Throughout the region, the food and nutrition education programs aim to build awareness and skills in agriculture, gardening, cooking, and nutrition that encourage local food consumption and healthy eating. School gardens are especially effective at engaging youth in gardening, food, nutrition, and health. We found that in the last 5 years, many hospital systems in the region have invested in this area of food and health, including Dignity Health, Sutter, and others. Kaiser has also invested in a Unite Us platform that helps bridge this gap as well. In the food system resilience poll, we found that more than half of residents think community gardens are important. And importantly, residents with low or very low food insecurity are significantly more likely to be interested in taking a class about growing their food. And in the absence of dedicated funding, the capacity to reach more individuals for food and nutrition insecurity and have sustained measurable impact is limited. That's why one of the health and nutrition recommendations is to increase investment in food and nutrition literacy programs, which will improve overall health and will encourage residents to be active consumers of fresh and local produce. And this will also allow organizations to reallocate staff resources from funding to expanded project work. One of the challenges in this area is that food and nutrition literacy is relatively new, so there's not too much data that folks have to use for funders and other grant opportunities to help explain the work and provide additional funding. So the full regional action plan will be released in the coming weeks. As I said, we gathered the data, we translated them to the action priorities, creating the action plan, and then next, with the support of the Sacramento Region Community Foundation, Valley Vision will develop an investment strategy and a potential financing mechanism that can address the needs and identified actions in the regional action plan. We are looking at many of the federal and state opportunities, which could be a way to meet these priorities identified in the plan, such as the GusNIP program that Michael referred to earlier, and the farm to school and farm to institution opportunities that Gail referred to. So my contact information is on the slide, and please reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you.